You're listening to Ask the Advocate, a podcast series that features advocates for domestic violence, sexual violence, and all other survivors of abuse and serious crime. I'm your host, Billie Jo Weyant, and for the past 3 decades, I've worked in the victim services industry, serving as the executive director for a Pennsylvania-based nonprofit named CAPSI, which stands for Citizens Against Physical, Sexual, and Emotional Abuse. I invite you to join me as I sit down with my guests each episode to discuss critical victim service resources and to help raise awareness for the most pressing challenges facing survivors and the nonprofit agencies that serve them. Hi, everybody. Welcome to this episode of Ask the Advocate. I'm Billie Jo Weyant, Executive Director at CAPSI, Citizens Against Physical, Sexual, and Emotional Abuse, with over 30 years experience and training in the world of victim services. And I am so pleased and honored to have as my special guest today, Carol Wasser, and she is the CEO of OhanaLink. And OhanaLink, I got to know about in the last 6 months or so, and I think it is the most wonderful thing that you are doing for the world of victim services. And if you would like to introduce yourself and tell us a little bit about how you got to where you are, and also about this wonderful app that you've developed.
Sure. Thanks for having me, Billie Jo. My name's Carol Wasser, founder and CEO of OhanaLink Technology. We started in the healthcare space, delivering solutions to family and friends to connect during health-related events. And when COVID hit, we were approached by our local domestic violence agency, seeing what we were doing in the healthcare space. Privacy and security was at the forefront of everything we were doing. And they said, "What can you do to help us?" Essentially, we were told that their phones had stopped ringing and they needed to integrate technology into their daily service delivery and needed a safe way to do that. And so that's how we got to where we are today with OhanaLink Purple.
And we are so happy that I believe it was Aware that
Yes, it
reached
was
out to
Mercer
you
County
first.
Aware.
Lizette Olson, who I've
Yes.
known for so many years, and she's fabulous.
Yes.
Yes. And then, the rest is history. When we were asked to be on a pilot project with this, we were like, absolutely, sign us up, sign us up. Well, one of the things that I really want to focus on today, Kara, is about this, about OhanaLink, about the Purple app, about COVID. COVID has truly changed everything we have ever done or seen in the world of, as you said, healthcare, and also for me, victim services. Almost overnight, we had to figure out new ways to reach out to victims in many ways. Our phones also went very silent. And it was scary, and we didn't really know what we were going to do to try to reach those folks. And it was Lizette and Michelle Gibb from Alakiski Hope Center who reached out and said, let's try this. Let's see what we can do about this. So I think the next 30 minutes or so, it's going to be very important that we get that message out to other people and explain to them how wonderful this opportunity is and what we can do to help others. Well, geez, without further ado, let's move right into, can you give us an overview of that OhanaLink Purple and a nice description for folks?
Yeah, sure. Well, first I want to say that the individuals that came to us, Lizette and Michelle, were
Mhm.
not techie people. So that was a really beautiful thing where they realized that they needed to integrate technology. They weren't techie people. They actually used their phones to call people. And so but they realized that they needed to start meeting victims and survivors where they are, and that is in their mobile devices. And so that's really where OhanaLink Purple came about. And so OhanaLink Purple is ultimately a digital service delivery system. So it's a system made of 2 mobile apps. We have 2 access points based on the level of security that the users need. So ultimately, it connects providers to the victims that they serve and connects the victims to the valuable resources, including the advocates and allies that they work with throughout their client journey. And anything that they would typically receive on paper, resources, handouts, pamphlets, brochures, directory of services, everything is integrated into this one system where victims then have this secure, disguised access point on their mobile device. It only requires them to have a Wi Fi access point. So they no longer need to have a phone number, email address, something that is interceptable or discoverable on a device. And so they can access it now, with just a Wi Fi. And that's a really beautiful thing.
As I said before, Kara, as we were talking about at the beginning of this podcast, the issues and overnight the need for alternative means to reach out to victim survivors in order to provide them with the safe, confidential services and not face to face.
Hmm.
And I think when Lizette and Michelle, again, as I said, approached me with the opportunity to be a pilot agency for this, oh my goodness, I said yes immediately.
Hmm.
And I know that you were going to tell us too a little bit about the security of this app and this project.
Yeah, so I think it's important to note, though, that 78% of victims are being monitored on their devices by abusers. So not only are they being monitored, but sometimes, or now because of COVID, they're at home with their abusers 24/7. Their abusers are now working from within the home, and that's a difference that I think the reason we had to adjust the way that we're communicating and connecting with victims. And so I think that the monitoring of the devices really highlighted the need for a new access point or a safer way to engage using technology. And so it really comes down to educating as well, making
Hmm.
sure that victims and advocates are educated on what that access and potential dangers are associated with that. And so that's where the safe technology and the need for disguised access points that are fully functioning in other ways can sort of deter abusers from digging down into the technology.
And I mean, I've seen it firsthand and have been trained in it myself. So I can attest to the safety and security, confidentiality, anything people want to try to throw at us, literally to try to discount the effectiveness and the security on this app. Go for it because you have dotted every I and crossed every T when it comes to that.
Yeah, we definitely tried.
Oh my gosh,
Yeah.
yes. And I've been doing this work for a long, long time. And I'm now to the point in my career where I'm seeing my survivors, children, and some of the grandkids coming to
Hmm.
seek services. And tell me anybody you know that does not have a smartphone.
Yeah.
And there are so many people, even now that things have opened up. I'm still getting, and I should say Capsy, we are still getting many, many requests. I don't want to come in face to face. I love to text. That's what I want to
Yeah.
do. Plus, we have to keep up with the next generation.
Yes, it's meeting them where they are, and they're
Yes,
in their mobile devices, and they all have one. So, how can we use technology to keep them safe?
yes,
We can empower victims through the use of technology if we can educate them on how to use it appropriately. And so, the ability to use technology to give safe access to the resources, including
yep,
people. We're not just connecting them to resources that are out on the web or, pamphlets and such. We're connecting them
yes.
to humans on the other side. And that is so powerful and empowering
Hmm.
for them to connect that way. So,
Just to add, since COVID, we continued on with other virtual means to
yeah.
see people and work with them in a HIPAA compliant, confidential platform because people are choosing to do that instead of coming face to face. And
Hmm.
we always, again, want to meet them where they are and also provide them with choices. And it makes for a better outcome all the way
Hmm.
around, and it's very trauma informed. And I think, Kara, too, your app is very trauma informed. And can you speak a little bit more about that, because I think that is so important
Yeah.
for anybody that's watching and or listening to this podcast, about how thoughtful you've been in
Hmm.
putting this all together.
Yeah, well, I take no credit for that. That was you all, Billy Joe, you
Well,
being part of that, and the coalition of agencies that we worked with to build the solution. And so that's how we were able to deliver to you all exactly what you needed, because we worked hand in hand with you guys. And so that was really the key for us giving you something. We had a platform, an existing platform. We were able to build using additional tools to
mhm.
add safety measures that were specific to this space, but it was really you guys that designed it for us. So I take no credit.
Well, we couldn't have done it without you and all your wonderful folks at OhanaLink,
Thank you.
honestly.
Thank
I
you.
mean, and again, I'm learning. It was wonderful today that you said you're, doing some different things with training
Yeah.
so that we all can, that can be at our fingertips 24/7.
Yeah, I think there's no going back. Once technology
Hmm.
is introduced, COVID
Yes.
put a spotlight on the need for it. There's no going back and taking that away from victims and survivors and going back to the old ways of them coming in for services. And so it's our job as a tech company to help you implement that technology. So it's not just an app that we're saying, here you go, good luck. We're actually enhancing the way that you deliver services, and it's a whole process.
Hmm.
And so it was really helpful for us to work with the agencies. We have, 22 on board now that have really given us the feedback we need to, continue to enhance the solution, to work with you all, and to grow and, go national. So,
The other thing too, Carol, when you said 22 on board and it's
yeah.
OhanaLink Purple, and I know that one of the things that I really would love to see, and I think you folks are in the works on this, but if you'd like to talk a little more, CAPSI is a
Hmm.
comprehensive victim service agency.
Yeah.
So we not only work with domestic violence, also sexual violence and serious crime victims.
Hmm.
So, and the homeless and near homeless
Yeah.
population. So, to integrate that and expand that into something that we could use for many different, uh, groups, that
Hmm.
would just be phenomenal. Can you tell me a little bit more about that, or tell all of us a little more about that?
Yeah, yeah, definitely. So, immediately, almost after we launched Purple, we were pulled
Hmm.
into the sexual assault and trafficking
Hmm.
side of things, and so we started as a company researching what we needed to know to be able to aid in that technology delivery. And so we are working on expanding. And what that really means is that the tool works whether you are a victim of domestic violence or sexual assault or any other victim crime. However, we as a company partner with different agencies, different key industry partners, and working with coalitions at the state and national levels. And so we will then expand our offerings to be more all encompassing when it comes to sexual assault and trafficking. So that's really what that growth will look like over the
Hmm.
next probably 24 to 36 months. But with Purple right now, the platform works for any victim crime. We just started here because we have to focus, and so
Yes.
that that's where we're at. But we are going to be expanding very soon.
Oh, that's wonderful. It is.
Hmm.
It's really great. And I think there are some nuances between,
Hmm.
things that I I just think that, a few tweaks here and there and it'll be great,
Yeah.
for anybody that's needing that. It'll be wonderful.
Yeah.
Um oh gosh, I have so many things I'd like to talk to you about. I know on this end of things, the promoting, I have staff members, and I can speak about this personally. This is part of our intake with people. When somebody calls on the phone because they're not aware of OhanaLink Purple, we do talk to our anybody on the phone as part of our needs assessment and let them know that this is an option for them if
Hmm.
they want that. And it's proved to be very helpful. And I think, like the waiting room component and the scheduling, because
Hmm.
I know we have a lot of folks, they don't even want to put anything into their calendars on their phones. They don't want a business card. They want nothing or an appointment
Hmm.
card. But this is such a perfect way. Can you describe that a little bit more? Maybe walk us through
Yeah.
some of the features?
Yeah, sure. So when we were building this and adding the additional safety features in, we wanted to make sure that there was no trace, no history, no cookies, nothing being left laying around on the device. So even if they are within OhanaLink Purple and looking at a resource, making sure that it's not trackable or discoverable by somebody that could maybe hit a back button or something like that. So we built a secure browser into the system so that providers can give access to resources that are out that live out on the web, but now they can safely access them. So that was part of that. But then also in working with the agencies, the coalition of seven that helped us build this, we looked at what are those other things that you guys do that we can help you. With your processes and your procedures. And so
Yeah.
we looked at this scheduling and being able to give them, not have to give them a card or call them to remind them about an appointment. So implementing that was important. Also, what are some of the operational inefficiencies that you all are dealing with, such as having rural Pennsylvania, having to drive to meet a client to have
Yeah.
them sign a document. So right now we're working on the document signing where they'll be able to sign off on a release form to start, and then handbooks and things like that that they need to sign off on. And so implementing those kinds of things. So we really took this comprehensive approach to really understanding how you function so that not only are we giving you a tool that can help victims, but we can help you all with operational efficiencies because demand is increasing. And the only way to keep up with that capacity, and your
Yeah.
budgets are decreasing. Let's be real about that. And so we have to start becoming more efficient in how we're helping victims. And so I think that implementing technology that understands you all has really been the gift for us.
And as you were just saying that, I did make a couple notes because there are 2 points that you made that I am so happy
Yeah.
about. First and foremost, the release and like important documents that need to be
Mhm.
signed
Yeah.
confidentially. That
Yes.
was a struggle, especially with some of our other workshop programs where they're evidence based. I
Hmm.
had a lot of people that couldn't do the virtual, so they couldn't do their programs because they couldn't sign off
Yeah.
and they were afraid to use Adobe
Of
or
course.
other electronic signatures for fear of somebody finding it on their computers. So I am
Hmm.
so pleased to hear that. Oh, that's wonderful. And the
Yes.
other thing, you're right about the funding. And I think on our end in victim services, and I can speak probably for the other 6 programs that helped start this, we need to really work with all of our funding sources and help them to understand how critical this is and that they should be funding this for us so that we in turn can make sure that this is available to anybody. And Kara, you said this is not just a Pennsylvania thing. This
Right.
is a global, am I correct or incorrect?
Yes.
This
Well,
is a
national right now, but we will be
national.
global. Yes, for
Okay.
sure, be
But I
global.
mean, anybody that is like I said, watching this or hearing it,
Hmm.
this is something that you can pursue. uh what do you think as far as um I'm just now, my head's just going in all different directions about all the wonderful opportunities that we can really start to come
Hmm.
up with through this.
Hmm.
um
Well, let
as
me
far
address one of the challenges that you were starting to talk about when it comes to
okay.
funding. So when it comes to funding, when as we launched for new technology.
Hmm.
And what we found is agencies have not historically had to budget for technology line items like this, right? So
No.
it's a challenge for us to go and say, hey, here's this amazing solution. And they're going, well, we can't budget for that right now. And so that's been a barrier to entry for sure.
Yeah.
However, we got creative. And, with you all in the first seven and then the next seven, we actually worked with funding sources, so large foundations, community foundations provided funding, and that was great. It's a lot of work to do those things, but we have a toolkit put together that helps agencies go and seek those funding sources from a community foundation or otherwise. However, we took it to the next level where we're using our connections and our network to reach out to large foundations to put grant funds together. And so we're in the process of working with two very large foundations, which I can't mention yet because they're not solidified. But we wanted to create an opportunity for if an agency says, yes, we want this, but we can't afford it, that
Hmm.
we can point them in a direction that there's funds set aside for them to go and get funded for it. And so we're really excited about that. Stay tuned, and hopefully we'll be able to help a lot of people through these sources.
Well, that means one thing. You'll have to come back and we'll have to talk about that.
Yes, it's huge.
Oh,
And
that's
I wish
fabulous.
I could tell you, but I can't.
No, that's okay. I totally respect that. I
Yeah.
totally respect that. But I think that is just so nice to hear because I myself, I mean, we make a living writing grants and you have
Yes.
to renew those grants every year. And I think advocacy on our part as executive directors or leaders, this is where we need to start working with our funding sources and saying,
Hmm.
we need your support on this. We need
Hmm.
to think about, getting state and federal funds at least freed up so that we can do this. It's a core service. We should be turning this into core services,
Hmm.
you
Yeah, I
know.
agree, obviously. But I think as we start to scale and start to go national, we're in 3 states now. But
Yeah.
as we start to go national with digital service delivery, and that's I keep saying that over and over
Yeah.
again because that is new. But that is what we will have to teach these funding sources that it is now available and it is something that we desperately need. And
Yeah.
so how we get that message out is through usage and scaling and just being noisy about it.
Yes. Absolutely. And I would love to be noisy with you on that because
Yeah.
it's tried and true here. And we are very supportive of this. And we will
Hmm.
always have the OhanaLink Purple. Um, I know we're probably out of time and a little soon here, but I really, really
Yeah.
want folks to know how to reach you and how
Hmm.
to get more information and also the Purple app if
Yeah.
they so choose.
Sure. So you can go to ohanalink.com/purple.
Hmm.
And then there's more information there about OhanaLink Purple itself. And you can sign up there to be connected to one of our associates that can then present a demo to you and your teams. So that's the best way.
Okay, that's wonderful. And anybody that is listening or watching, if you reach out to CAPSI through our website, capsi.org, I would be sure to support that and also direct them right to Ohana Link Purple and
Great.
help out with that. No problem at all. We can do that for you. Um, and the demo, it's very interactive, it's neat.
Hmm.
And like I said, you are soon going to have training modules. So
Yes.
that'll be nice. Folks
Yes.
can do it at their leisure. Um,
Exactly.
it's critical, seriously, that we provide multiple platforms for individuals to get help. Uh, you know, you can go to the National Coalition Against Domestic Violence
Hmm.
and Sexual Violence and just look at the statistics of
Yeah.
what, you know, it's just
20,000 calls a day are coming into hotlines.
it's,
20,000 calls a
mhm,
day. And that call itself can be putting a victim at risk
yes,
because it could be tracked or monitored. And I know that there's some great legislation happening around calling into hotlines, and I'm
yeah.
really happy to see that. But then connecting them to services that are not discoverable is the next step.
I also worry a lot too as we're closing on this. I really am concerned because I always tell folks I know enough to be dangerous when it comes to like computers and things like that. But how do you totally eliminate your tracking,
Mhm.
like the websites you're tracking?
Yeah.
How can you really, if somebody's computer savvy, they're going to
Hmm.
be able to get in there and see where you are. So I think this is another reason this app is fabulous. There's no trace.
Correct. There's no trace. And there's always going to be spyware out there that is
Mhm.
going to be causing problems.
Yeah.
So you can only take things so far. But I think that we've covered all the bases that we can cover for now. We're even going as far as my tech team is looking at how to eliminate traces on web traffic. If they were to look, if there was somebody that was savvy looking at a router. And so we're really taking these deep dives
Yeah.
into discoverability. And that's, something that's been really, really important for us.
It's refreshing to hear that, because
Yeah.
Kara, and I'm not just saying this, I am brutally honest when I say you all, and you as a leader, are truthfully, you go above and beyond for all of us, and we
Thank
really
you.
appreciate that.
Thank
And
you.
yes,
My sister's a
absolutely.
survivor. And my niece and nephew grew up in and out of shelter many times. And so it's personal for me to be able to have the opportunity to use technology that we've built for
Yes,
something else. And then we were able to scale it to build for um, this need has been just, I see it as a gift, and we're really excited to be able to give back.
thank you. That
Yeah,
means a lot.
sure.
And
Yeah.
that means a lot to every survivor that's out there
Hmm.
listening to this, watching it. There is help. And there are
Hmm.
many, many safe ways that we can provide that assistance to you. Kara Wasser, I want to thank you so much for being on this podcast, and I hope you come back.
Of course I will. Thank you. Thank you
I
so much for having me.
appreciate it very
Okay.
much so. You've been
Thanks.
listening to Ask the Advocate. I'm Billie Jo Weyant. I thank you for spending time with us today, and we'll be back real soon. And again, Kara, thank you. And I'm
Yeah.
looking forward to our next visit.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you for listening to this episode of Ask the Advocate. If you have a topic suggestion or would like to be a guest on the podcast, you can contact me directly at asktheadvocatepodcast@gmail.com.